She hated every man, but then he appeared. Who was this stranger, and could he really earn her trust? What dark secret from her past still haunts her? And will it destroy their chance at love? Watch as one act of patience changes everything. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it moved you, share it. Comments below and let someone know you are never alone. The first time I saw Olivia, the restaurant felt strangely quiet. Warm lights above wooden tables, soft music drifting through the air, the scent of fresh coffee and baked bread. Then I noticed her. She stood behind the counter, eyes lowered, hands moving carefully as she placed a cup on a tray. Something about her felt different, gentle, fragile, like a small bird resting after a storm. I began to visit the restaurant every day. Sometimes I ordered coffee, sometimes tea. Truthfully, I came to see her. Olivia rarely spoke. Her voice stayed soft, almost hidden. Yet her eyes carried a sadness deeper than silence. One evening I finally gathered courage. I stepped closer. "Hi, Olivia." The moment my voice reached her, fear flashed across her face. Her hands trembled. The tray slipped slightly. She ran. The door closed behind her with a sharp sound that stayed in my chest the entire night. Days passed. Her chair behind the counter stayed empty. A strange ache grew inside me. Curiosity first, then worry, then something much stronger. I asked around. Eventually I found the small house where she lived. The evening air felt cold as I knocked. The door opened slowly. Olivia stood there, eyes wide with shock. "Why are you here?" her voice whispered. "I want to understand," I said softly. "Because I care about you." Weeks passed after that night. Small conversations, quiet walks, long silences where trust slowly grew between us like sunlight after winter. One evening we sat beside a quiet river. Olivia stared at the moving water. Her fingers trembled. Then the truth surfaced. Her voice broke as she spoke about the past, about a man, about a childhood stolen when she was only 11. Pain filled the air like thunder before a storm. Tears rolled down her cheeks. My heart felt heavy with anger and sorrow. Yet I gently held her shaking hands. "You are safe with me," I whispered. She looked at me with uncertain eyes. For the first time, fear slowly faded from her gaze. The river flowed quietly beside us. The night sky stretched above. And in that fragile moment between pain and healing, Olivia leaned closer, searching for something she had lost long ago. Trust. I felt it in the way her fingers slowly stopped trembling inside my hands. The river moved quietly beside us. Cool wind brushed through the tall grass. Somewhere far away an owl called into the night. Olivia leaned closer, her eyes searching my face as if she tried to read something hidden there. "Why do you stay?" she asked softly. Her voice carried confusion and fear. I breathed slowly, choosing every word with care. "Because when I look at you I see strength," I said. "Not weakness." She lowered her eyes. Silence wrapped around us again, heavy but gentle. The moonlight touched her face, revealing tears she tried to hide. "I tried to hate every man," she whispered. It felt easier than remembering. Her shoulders shook slightly. "I built walls everywhere. In my heart. In my mind. I thought no one could ever cross them." I squeezed her hand softly. "Walls exist to protect," I said. "But sometimes they also trap the person inside." She looked at me again. This time her eyes carried something new. Something fragile. Something hopeful. The wind grew colder. I gently placed my jacket around her shoulders. She hesitated for a moment, then accepted it. A small step. A quiet victory. Days turned into weeks. We met often after that night. Short walks through quiet streets. Warm coffee in the corner of the restaurant. Long conversations where her voice slowly grew stronger. Sometimes she laughed. The first time it happened, I almost froze in surprise. Her laughter sounded soft like sunlight touching water. Yet shadows still lived inside her memories. One evening while we walked through the park, a group of men passed nearby. I felt Olivia's hand suddenly tighten around mine. Her breathing became fast. Fear returned like an old ghost. I stopped walking and gently faced her. "It is all right," I whispered. She closed her eyes, fighting the storm inside her mind. "I want to believe you," she said quietly. You can, I answered. Her fingers slowly relaxed again. The leaves above us moved with the wind. Streetlights glowed softly along the empty path. And Olivia looked at me with a question still waiting in her heart. The park felt quiet around us. Streetlights cast long golden shadows on the empty path. Dry leaves moved gently across the ground. She studied my face as if searching for proof of something deeper than words. John, she whispered slowly, how do you stay so calm around my fears? Her voice carried both curiosity and pain. I took a slow breath. Because your fears make sense, I answered. Your heart survived something terrible. Healing takes patience. She stood silent for a moment. Then her eyes softened. No one had ever spoken to her that way before. We began walking again. Step by step. The cold air touched our faces while the night stretched peacefully around us. Olivia held my arm lightly now, no longer gripping it with panic. A small sign of growing trust. When we reached the old wooden bridge in the park, she stopped again. Water moved quietly beneath the bridge, reflecting the silver moon above. I remember loving bridges when I was little, she said gently. Her voice sounded distant, like a memory drifting back from another life. They felt magical, like they connected two worlds. I leaned against the railing beside her. And maybe they still do, I said. She looked at me, confused but curious. Two worlds, she asked. Yes, I replied softly. The world where pain lives, and the world where hope waits. Her eyes shimmered slightly in the moonlight. For a moment she said nothing. Then something unexpected happened. Olivia slowly rested her head against my shoulder. The gesture felt simple, yet it carried the weight of years of fear slowly melting away. My heart beat faster, though I stayed still so she could feel safe. I want to believe in that second world, she murmured. You already started walking toward it, I said. The wind moved gently across the bridge. The river below whispered softly through the darkness. Olivia lifted her head again, studying me with new warmth in her eyes. Then she asked a question that carried both courage and uncertainty. What happens if I finally trust someone completely? What happens if I finally trust someone completely? Her question floated in the cool night air. For a moment I stayed silent. The river below the bridge moved slowly, reflecting pieces of moonlight like broken silver. I turned slightly toward her. Then something beautiful begins, I said quietly. Olivia watched my face carefully, as if measuring the truth inside those words. Beautiful things still scare me, she admitted. Her fingers traced the rough wooden railing of the bridge. Fear still lived inside her memories. I could see it in the tension of her shoulders. That is normal, I said softly. Courage often walks beside fear. She looked at me again. This time her gaze felt steadier. A breeze moved across the water, lifting a few strands of her dark hair across her face. She brushed them away slowly. When I was a child, she said, her voice distant, I imagined love as something warm, something safe. Her eyes drifted toward the quiet river. Then life changed everything. The sadness in her tone touched something deep inside me. I stepped closer, careful and gentle. Sometimes life breaks the first picture, I said. Then it gives us a chance to paint a new one. She considered that thought. Silence settled between us again, though this silence felt softer now. Somewhere in the trees nearby, night insects hummed quietly. The park seemed to breathe with calm energy. Olivia slowly slid her hand into mine, not out of fear, out of choice. The warmth of her hand felt like the beginning of something fragile and powerful. I still feel the past sometimes, she whispered. It appears suddenly like a shadow behind me. I nodded gently. Then we faced the shadow together. She squeezed my hand slightly. The bridge creaked softly beneath our steps as we began walking again. Olivia stayed close beside me, her pace relaxed. When we reached the other side of the bridge, she stopped once more. The path ahead stretched through tall trees glowing under the streetlights. She looked forward, thoughtful. It feels strange, she said slowly. For the first time in years, I feel curious about tomorrow. A small smile touched her lips. I felt warmth spread through my chest. Tomorrow holds many surprises, I replied. Olivia glanced back toward the quiet bridge behind us, then forward again toward the long path disappearing into the trees. Her eyes carried a new spark now, and as we stepped deeper into the softly lit path, she turned toward me again with another quiet question forming in her mind, and as we stepped deeper into the softly lit path, she turned toward me again with another quiet question forming in her mind. "John," she said gently, "what made you care about me so much?" The path stretched ahead under the tall trees. Soft yellow lights glowed between the branches. The night felt calm, almost protective. I smiled a little. "The first day I saw you in the restaurant," I said slowly, "you looked like someone carrying a silent storm." She listened carefully. "Most people hide their pain behind loud smiles," I continued. "But your eyes, they told the truth." Olivia lowered her gaze, slightly embarrassed. "I always tried to hide," she murmured. "Maybe," I replied softly, "but your kindness still showed." We kept walking. Our footsteps echoed quietly along the empty path. The cool air carried the scent of pine and damp earth. After a few moments she spoke again. "When you first tried to talk to me, I felt terrified," she admitted. "My heart started racing like I was 11 again." Her voice trembled slightly at the memory. I nodded with understanding. "Trauma leaves echoes," I said gently. She looked up at me. "You understand more than most people," she said. "I listen," I answered. That made her smile faintly. The path curved deeper into the park, where fewer lights stood and the trees grew thicker. Shadows moved softly around us. Olivia suddenly stopped near an old bench beneath a large oak tree. She sat down slowly. I joined her. For a moment we simply listened to the quiet sounds of the night. Wind through leaves, distant water flowing, our steady breathing. Then Olivia spoke again, her voice thoughtful. "Sometimes I wonder who I would have become if that day never happened." The sadness in her words felt heavy. I looked at her carefully. "You still became someone strong," I said. She shook her head slightly. "I spent years feeling broken. Broken things can still shine," I replied softly. She looked at me again, surprised by the certainty in my voice. The moonlight filtered through the branches above us, lighting her face in gentle silver. "I am learning to see that," she whispered. Her hand slowly found mine again on the bench between us. Warm, steady. This time she held it longer. Then she took a deeper breath, gathering courage from somewhere deep inside her heart. "There is something I never told anyone," she said quietly. Her eyes carried both fear and determination, and as the wind rustled through the old oak tree above us, Olivia prepared to reveal another piece of the past she had buried for years. Olivia prepared to reveal another piece of the past she had buried for years. The wind moved softly through the oak leaves above us. Shadows danced across the ground like quiet memories. Her fingers tightened slightly around mine. "I remember something from that day," she said slowly. "Something I tried to forget." Her voice grew thinner. I stayed silent, giving her space. "The man, he wore a silver ring," she whispered. "A strange ring with a dark stone." Her eyes stared somewhere far away, lost inside the memory. For years that image followed me, even in dreams. A faint tremor passed through her shoulders. I placed my other hand gently over hers. "You are safe now," I said softly. She nodded, though her breathing remained uneven. "For a long time I believed every man carried that same darkness," she continued. "Every voice sounded dangerous. Every step behind me felt like a threat." Her eyes slowly lifted to mine. "But you changed something." The words felt warm and heavy at the same time. "How?" I asked quietly. "You stayed patient," she replied. "You never rushed. You never demanded anything from me." The night breeze brushed across the bench. Olivia looked toward the sky where the moon floated calmly above the trees. "I started watching you when you came to the restaurant," she admitted. "That surprised me." "You did." She smiled faintly. "Yes, you always sat in the same chair. Always greeted everyone kindly, even strangers." A small laugh escaped her lips. "And you always pretended to read the menu for 5 minutes." I laughed softly too. I needed an excuse to stay longer. Her smile widened just a little. The moment felt lighter now, like a fragile door opening inside her heart. Then her expression slowly grew serious again. "There is another part one never told anyone," she said carefully. Her gaze drifted toward the dark path behind us. "That man, the one who hurt me. She paused, gathering strength. For years I believed he vanished forever. The wind suddenly grew colder. A distant sound echoed somewhere deep in the park. Olivia's fingers tightened again around mine as a quiet unease passed through her voice. But last winter, I saw someone who looked exactly like him. But last winter, I saw someone who looked exactly like him. Her words hung in the cold night air. The park suddenly felt quieter. A distant branch cracked somewhere in the darkness, and Olivia's eyes moved quickly toward the sound. I felt her hand tremble again in mine. "Where did you see him?" I asked gently. She swallowed, gathering her thoughts. "Near the market street," she said softly. It was evening. Snow everywhere. People walking quickly. Her eyes focused on the ground as the memory returned. I was leaving the grocery store when a man passed beside me. For a second I saw his hand. Her breathing slowed, careful and controlled. "That same ring," she whispered. "Silver with the dark stone." A chill passed through me. "And you are sure?" I asked quietly. Olivia nodded slowly. "I remember that ring too clearly." I froze the moment I saw it. The wind moved through the trees again, rustling the dry leaves around our feet. "What happened after that?" I asked. "I looked up," she said. "I wanted to see his face." Her fingers tightened again. But the crowd moved between us. When I reached the corner, he was gone. She looked up at me, uncertainty filling her eyes. "Maybe it was someone else," she added quickly. "Maybe my mind played tricks." I studied her face. Fear still lingered there, but something else lived beside it now. Determination. "You spent years running from that memory," I said softly. "Now you faced it." She considered that for a moment. "I felt different that day," she admitted. Still scared, but also angry. The quiet strength in her voice surprised me. "I realized something," she continued. "If that man still exists somewhere, I no longer want him to control my life." Moonlight slipped through the branches above us, touching her face with pale light. She looked stronger now, braver. We stood from the bench and slowly began walking again along the dim path. Our footsteps moved together through the quiet park. Olivia held my arm, her grip calmer than before. "I used to believe my life ended when I was 11, she said thoughtfully. She looked at me. "But lately, I feel like something new is beginning." The trees opened slightly ahead, revealing a small clearing where the path divided into two directions. Olivia paused at the fork in the road, studying both paths beneath the soft glow of a street lamp. Then she turned toward me again, curiosity shining in her eyes as another question formed on her lips. Curiosity shining in her eyes as another question formed on her lips. "John," she said softly, "do you believe people can truly leave their past behind?" The small clearing felt still around us. Two paths stretched in different directions beneath the tall trees. The street lamp above hummed faintly, casting a quiet circle of light. I looked at the paths, then back at her. "I believe the past always stays somewhere inside us," I said gently. "But it does not have to control where we walk." Olivia listened carefully. Her eyes moved again toward the darker path on the left. "For years I lived inside that darkness," she murmured. Every step felt heavy. Then she looked toward the brighter path on the right. "And now," she thought for a moment, "now it feels like the road slowly opens." A soft breeze moved through the clearing, stirring the leaves above our heads. Olivia stepped forward, then stopped again. "There is something strange happening to me lately," she admitted. "What do you mean?" I asked. She smiled faintly, almost shy. "When I wake up in the morning, I feel curious about the day. I notice small things again." Her eyes brightened as she spoke. The smell of coffee in the restaurant, sunlight through the windows, people laughing at the tables. She looked at me. "Those things used to feel distant, like they belonged to another world. And now?" I asked quietly. "Now I feel part of it again." The warmth in her voice made the night seem lighter. We began walking along the brighter path together. The trees grew thinner here, allowing more moonlight to fall across the ground. Olivia's steps felt slower, thoughtful. After a while she spoke again. "Sometimes I still feel scared," she said honestly. "But the fear feels smaller when you are beside me." I squeezed her hand gently. "You are the one doing the brave work," I replied. She shook her head softly. Maybe we both are. Ahead of us, the path curved toward the edge of the park where distant city lights shimmered between the trees. Olivia suddenly slowed. Her eyes focused on something farther down the path. A tall figure stood near the next street lamp. For a moment the man remained still, his face hidden in shadow. Olivia's breath caught quietly. Her gaze dropped slowly toward the stranger's hand. Moonlight glinted off something bright. A silver ring. With a dark stone. The silver ring caught the light again. Olivia froze beside me. For a brief moment the night felt heavy, as if the past itself had stepped out of the shadows. Her fingers tightened around my arm, but something inside her felt different this time. The fear that once ruled her eyes now shared space with quiet strength. The man under the street lamp shifted slightly. A stranger. Just another passerby walking through the park. He adjusted his coat and continued down the path, disappearing into the quiet city lights. Olivia watched him leave. Her breathing slowly steadied. "The past still tries to follow me," she said softly. I looked at her. Memories always do. She stood silent for a moment, thinking. Then she surprised me. Instead of looking back toward the shadowy path behind us, Olivia turned forward toward the glowing city lights ahead. "I understand something now," she said gently. "That man from my childhood took many years of peace from me, but he does not deserve the rest of my life." Her voice held calm determination. The wind moved through the trees, softer now. Olivia took a slow step forward. Then another. Her hand slipped into mine again, warm and steady. "For years I believed my story ended with pain," she continued. "But pain was only one chapter." A small smile touched her face. "Love writes the next ones." We walked together toward the park exit, where the warm lights of the streets welcomed the night travelers. People laughed at a nearby cafe. Cars passed slowly along the road. Life moved forward. Olivia paused once more at the edge of the park and looked back at the quiet trees behind us. "Some memories never disappear," she said. Then she looked at me, her eyes brighter than I had ever seen them. "But kindness, patience, and true love have the power to heal even the deepest wounds." And as we stepped into the light of the city, Olivia walked not as someone chased by the past, but as someone finally choosing her future.